Well, listen, I'm honored to be here to speak to you guys today. And you know, I don't have a particular theme to speak to you about. I think if I want to speak to you about anything, it's to inspire you guys to live your dream. Because anyone can do it if you stay focused, and I'm living proof of that. I was a kid who was born and raised in a small apartment in New York City, immigrant parents. My father came over here from Cuba with a third grade education. Okay, met my mom in New York City, had nothing, and provided for me and my sister in a way that you never thought would be possible. As a kid, I grew up, and you guys are so lucky today, because if some of you are into animals and wildlife and stuff like that, you've got this plethora of programming. You got the National Geographic Channel, you got Discovery Networks, you know, you got Animal Planet, you got all this great programming. When I was a kid, there was none of that, okay? First of all, when I was a kid, I had one small black and white television, which nobody ever heard of before. My daughter, when she heard, she goes, "Why is the TV gray? Why is everything gray?" Black and white television with 4 channels, and you had to do it like this, click, 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 click. That was it. Okay, we used a coat hanger for the antenna, because the antenna was one of those periscope things, and you did it enough times it would break off. So you put a coat hanger in there to get better reception. And there was no animal programming except for one show. Sunday night, 7:30, a show called Wild Kingdom. And I'd watch this show. I mean, I was a religious watcher of this show. Kids would watch cartoons, watch all kinds of, you know, Batman shows and stuff like that. Me was Wild Kingdom. It was on right before the World of Disney. And I'd sit and I'd watch that show, and I'd say to myself, there were 2 guys in that show. There was a guy named Marlon Perkins, and there was a guy named Jim Fowler. Marlon was kind of like the host guy. He'd stand at the desk, and he'd talk about Jim. While Jim was wrestling anacondas in the Amazon or running away from a charging elephant in the Serengeti, you know, Marlon would be, and there's Jim as he's wrestling the anaconda. And it's really, he was kind of the original crocodile hunter. That's a guy that you guys are probably familiar with. But Jim Fowler was the original crocodile hunter. He was the guy who first did that on television, working with all these animals, traveling around the world. And I said to myself, that's what I want to do. And people would look at me like, you're out of your mind. Have you lost your mind? You're some kid living in an apartment, immigrant parents in New York City with nothing, and you want to do that job? That's one in a million jobs. It's never going to happen. But you know what? Fortunately, I was able to stay focused. I went to the zoo all the time, at the Bronx Zoo in New York, and I'd look at these animals and I'd say to myself, gosh, it made such a connection to look at an animal face to face. There's something to be said about that, about seeing something in real life. It was really inspiring to me. Even before I could read or write, I mean, I was learning about animals. When I moved down to Florida, I was 12 years old, I said to myself, I stayed focused. The sciences were a type of subject that I loved. I loved the life sciences, especially biology, physics. Those are the sciences that I really enjoyed. And I realized to myself, gosh, you know what? I'm having so much fun doing this stuff. I love working with animals. I love being outdoors. I realized from the very beginning, guys, if I had to wear a suit and tie to go to work every day, I would lose my mind. Okay? Listen, I have to roll up, even when I put long sleeve shirts on, I got to roll them up because I start feeling like I'm all enclosed. Usually I wear shorts, but I didn't want to push it too much for you guys here today. So I'm thinking, I'm going to wear long pants, but I got to at least roll up the sleeves because I got to be comfortable. You know, if I'm going to put on a suit and tie, that means I'm going to be going out to a fancy dinner with my wife. And then maybe, you know, a little something, something, okay? Because you gotta be happy about that stuff, okay? So it makes it special. If I got to put on a suit and tie every day, it's not going to be special. Now, some people like to do that. That's fine. Some people do the fashion show. I'm not that kind of guy. So I said to myself, I want to be outside. I can't be inside all the time. I want to be outside. Here's the lesson, guys. No matter what you like to do, if you like to draw, if you like to play music, if you like to act out things, there is a job that will pay you to do that. You've got to pick a career that you're going to have fun with. Because you know what? When you're an adult and you've got a job, you're going to be spending most of your waking hours at that job. If you don't love what you're doing, you're not going to be a happy person. No matter how much money you're making, you're not going to be a happy person. About 27 years ago, I'm moving crocodiles. So I'm jumping on top of these crocodiles. We've got to tape them up. We've got to move them from one place to another. Well, I got a little careless, and one bit me. On hand. Bad. You know what I said when it bit me? Woo! Because it hurt. So this crocodile stamped down in my hand, and I'm like, uh-oh. The guys with me jump on top of the crocodile right away to prevent it from shaking its head back and forth, because that's what crocodilians do, to rip my hand off my arm. Don't want that to happen. And then, to get my hand out of the crocodile's mouth, we had to put a shovel in his mouth to pry it open so I could pull my hand out. And when I pulled my hand out, there was bones sticking out, it was bleeding, it was nasty. Wrap it up, hospital. Woo, 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 go to the hospital. But now, my dad always told me when I was younger, son, you need to learn to make lemonade out of the lemons. For every good thing that happens, or every bad thing that happens, there's a good reason for it. You just got to give it time and give the opportunity for the good thing to happen. So I'm thinking to myself, now again, this is going to sound politically incorrect. And it is politically incorrect, but I'm going to be honest with you because I'm a 20-something-year-old guy. No, back then I was 20-something years old. I'm way older than that now. Yeah, I think y'all just hurt my feelings a little bit. This was 27 years ago. I was a 20-something-year-old guy. Okay? I'm well into my 50s now. I'm old. And, you know, I need you to say something like, oh, that's not that old. That's what I need you to say to me. That's it. Thank you. All right. So I have this 20-something guy going to the hospital, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know what I'm thinking? Again, politically incorrect, but I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe I'm going to have one of those really hot nurses taking care of me. Right? I know those little white outfits they wear, they come in and they go. So I go into surgery and they put the pins in my hand, they fix up my thing, and I come back out of surgery and I'm sitting in there and I'm waiting for my nurse to come see me. It's a guy. And the kind of nurse that would wake me up to give me a sleeping pill. I call my dad, I'm like, oh, hey, Papi, this sucks. It's not working. My father would go, my father would me. He didn't speak very good English. Paciencia y fe. Patience and faith. Paciencia y fe, man. Paciencia y fe. And I'm sitting there all bummed, my hands all messed up. So now I got to go down to physical therapy because they got to have to teach me to use my hand again. So I got to meet the physical therapist. And they made me get in a wheelchair to go down to physical therapy even though my arm got bitten, it wasn't my feet. This hospital thing. No, you got to get in a wheelchair. What? Insurance. What do you mean? I can walk. No, get in the chair. So I'm going in the chair, already ticked off because they made me sit in the chair to take care of my hand. We're going down a wheelchair, and I'm sitting there in the physical therapy wing. The door opens, and my physical therapist walks in. It is the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in my life. She's so beautiful that for a moment I was petrified. You know why? I thought maybe I died and I went to heaven. I was looking at an angel. She came up to me. Let me tell you something, folks. Hopefully this will happen to you once in your life. Where somebody walks into a room, you look at them, and you hear nothing. It's just a blur, and all you hear is this. That's what happened. That's what happened. And she came up to me and she held my hand and she said, hi. I'm going to be your physical therapist. And I went, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. I'm thinking of my father, paciencia y fe, paciencia y fe. And you know what? A year later, I married her. And now I get physical therapy for free. Last night was a special night for us. You know, we have 2 children. I have a son and a daughter. My son is now a junior on a full ride at the University of Miami in music. He works with the Miami Heat, the broadcasting unit. My daughter just graduates this year from Coral Reef Senior High. Last night, she was awarded an honorable mention Silver Knight Award. Thank you. So here's the bottom line, guys. They have been taught since the time they were born, you guys have got to have fun. Life is too short to take yourself too seriously. You got to have fun. You remember that guy Jim Fowler that I told you about that I always wanted to be like? About 20-something years ago, I met him. I was asked to do a convention, a wildlife convention, and bring some animals from the zoo that he was going to speak at. And I met him. And to make a long story short, he and I have become some of the closest friends. He's been a mentor to me for over 20 years. We've done television programs together. He's been at my house for dinner. We won an Emmy Award together. I mean, we've done things that are just unbelievable that I could never even have dreamed of. Living the dream. Because I believed it could happen. Because a lot of people would tell me no. And let me tell you something, folks. Life isn't this smooth ride where you're going to go out there and you go, oh, this one, and everyone goes, oh, yeah, you can do it, yeah, you can do it. No, there are a lot of haters out there. There are a lot of haters out there, okay? Let me tell you one of the worst traits a human being has. Jealousy, envy, okay? If they see you being too... There's an old saying that says, misery loves company. Remember that. Because what happens is if you're around somebody who's miserable all the time, they don't want to see you happy. You got to take it for what it is. Don't get aggressive back. Water off a duck's back, walk away, go to the positive way. I've always been able to do that, and it's made me very lucky. Jim Fowler has been a mentor to me. He's taught me things that I can't even believe I've been able to do. I've traveled around the world. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you, we're going to take out these lights, I'm going to go through some images real quick, and I'm going to give you kind of a little synopsis of what I've been able to do, and how it's not just all animals, but it's having fun. You know, I did all the things at the university that you were supposed to do, write papers, get published, do all the things in the books, give presentations, do theses, all those things that sometimes can beat you down. But you know what? You got to do it. You got to do it to get where you got to go. But once you get there, don't be afraid to be yourself. And I'm going to show you that. So here you have the zoo logo, okay? The zoo entrance, right? That's the first time I was ever in the Miami Herald. That's the front page of the Miami Herald. That's unrecognizable, isn't it? Look at all that hair I had and how dark the mustache was. That's in 1982. Hey, I don't need to hear that. Oh my God, I'm not a dinosaur. But that's a long time ago. But listen, here's the deal. This is the lesson, guys. You guys, it's up to you to make what you want to make out of your life. You know, I see kids today, they get all caught up on, oh my God, what school am I going to? What school am I going to get accepted into? Don't pay so much attention to that. Schools will give you the resources to make of it what you will make of it. When I interview people for jobs, I don't look at what school they went to. I look at they got the degree, and then I have an interview with them. And that interview is going to tell me what kind of a person they are. Not a transcript, not what they're doing, not what school they went to, but that they got the degree, so I know they had the discipline to get the degree, and now I'm going to talk to them to find out if they can apply what they learned in school to what they're going to have to do in life. All right. So I did all this stuff, and now I learned to be a communicator. And I can't tell you how important that is, to be able to learn to write a good letter. Because you know when you write a good letter, you know what happens when that person opens the letter? They don't know what you look like, they don't know how old you are, but they'll make assumptions by reading your letter. And you know one of the greatest compliments you can get, and I get them every now and then, I get letters addressed to me, Dr. Magill. I'm not a doctor. But you know when people write Dr. Magill, that's kind of a form of respect because they think, well, he must have some PhD or something like that. I didn't do that, but I was able to get a good sense of writing well, of inspiring people that way. And then to be able to talk to people. In my field, working with animals, the greatest advantage I have is a lot of people work with animals because they don't like to work with people. That's the truth. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people work because they don't like to work with people. If you can be able to communicate your passion for what you do, get up in front of people and talk to them about it, inspire them, that's going to open so many doors for you. It's going to make you stand above the rest. Don't be the little guy who stands in the corner and doesn't say anything. Talk to people. Get excited about people. Have fun. Even if you look a little goofy sometimes, it's okay. So being able to start to communicate is what I did. This was my first television, my first national television. You don't even remember this. That's Good Morning America, like 25 years ago. Okay? Look at all that hair I had. Man, it all just went gone. Woo! Gone. But that's what Charlie Gibson and Joan London. Maybe some of your teachers might remember these folks. But this is one of the first Good Morning Americas I was able to do. National TV, working, talking about the animals, working with them, doing that kind of stuff. Okay? This was after Hurricane Andrew. You guys are too young now, but when I was young, you don't know who that is. That's Bo Derek. There's a movie called 10. Check it out sometime. Because when I was a kid, you know when they say she's a 10? It comes from that movie. Bo Derek was like the bomb and a bag of chips back then. But after Hurricane Andrew in 1992, she asked me to help her to raise awareness about protecting and helping animals that were hurt after the hurricane. So here I am doing commercials with Bo Derek. Man, I'm getting a scam. It's unbelievable. Jeff Corwin. You guys see Jeff, right? I get to work with Jeff, do some documentaries and stuff with Jeff. This Boyd Matson from National Geographic Television, working with these guys. You know Jack Hanna, Jungle Jack. Jack and I do a lot of things together. And you know what, guys? I get paid for this. I get a check. I get paid for this. To have fun with these guys, to go on television, to talk about these animals. Ew, ew. Okay. Whoa. Hello. Now, everybody's going ew, right? Because of the snake, right? I'm going to show you a picture in a little while for people who said ill too, and I changed their mind, and now they're so happy I did. But anyway, I get to work with all the news folks because that's my job, right? I'm a communications director, goodwill ambassador. I want to get people and change their minds about animals. Most of these people were scared out of their minds about snakes until I taught them the facts about snakes. We get so caught up in misinformation and misconceptions that we get the wrong impression. So I work with all the different television stations, working with all different animals, doing the different things, because it's a way to communicate. Listen, guys, listen. This is really important. The media is a huge asset if you can work with them. They want to have someone who can communicate good messages, get people excited about things like the environment, but in a fun way. Everything doesn't have to be so scientific and so academic all the time. You can have fun, make jokes, enjoy yourself, okay? That's what I do with these guys, and that's why I get invited back to do the television shows, because I have fun and I laugh at myself. You've got to be self-deprecating. You can't take yourself too seriously all the time. At the bottom line, it's getting the message out there. You know what? If I do a few minutes on Channel 10 in the news, you know how many thousands of people are watching that? Think about that. I could fill this room 100 times. And all those people are watching because I got the TV media there. Even Spanish television, guys. Listen, if you don't know a second language and you have the opportunity to learn one, do it. Spanish has opened more doors for me, especially in this community, than I could ever tell you. It was my first language as a kid, but in New York, I purposely forgot it because they would call me spick, they would call me all kinds of names, they made fun of me speaking Spanish in New York, and I purposely forgot it. And my parents said, you can't forget that. It's going to help you. It's going to help you. And boy, were they right. Okay? Never, ever push aside your culture. It is who you are, and you should always be proud of it, no matter where you come from. Always be proud of where you come from. Don't let anybody bully you out, because you know why people would make fun of me? Because they couldn't speak Spanish. Okay? So understand that and get it all you can. Work with all the different people. Then I go to the national show. Doing the local shows here for CBS, that's the national show in New York. I would go up to New York every other month and do pieces with different animals there. Going with wild pigs, working with Jessica now. She's on the Today Show doing that. Working on the Today Show with Al Roker, doing all kinds of stuff there. And I'm getting paid for this. I'm having fun. And you know what's amazing to me? This is what's amazing to me. I get paid to go on to talk about animals and communicate, and then you got people like this guy over here in the back with the sign, woke up at 2 a.m. because he wants to be on TV for 2 seconds. You ever see how stupid people get when they want to be on TV? I mean, people, yeah, real. Hi, Mom. You see a person doing a live shot and the guy's behind him. What are you doing? What are you doing? And they're on for 2 seconds, and they're calling everybody and their brother, hey, you got to watch, I'm going to be on there for 2 seconds, looking like an idiot. Okay? And this is my job. Why? Because you're having fun. And it shows when you have the fun, okay? Despierta America, my Spanish. And my Spanish isn't perfect. They make fun of it all the time, but I don't care. As long as I'm on talking about the animals, working with them. Here I am with a Komodo dragon doing the Letterman show. But you know what? I said to myself, again, this is where you don't take yourself too seriously. Have any of you ever been to New York City? Let me tell you something. Times Square, everybody knows where Times Square is. You've heard of it, right? So I'm doing the show, and I told my driver, I said, you know what? I want to take a picture with this Komodo dragon in the middle of Times Square. He goes, oh, I don't think that's a good idea. I said, no, we got to do it. We got to do it. I'll never have a chance to do this again. And I'm sure there's never been a Komodo dragon in Times Square. We stopped the car. We did a Chinese fire drill. I jumped out of the car, and I stood in Times Square with the Komodo dragon. This is historic. This is the only Komodo dragon you'll ever see on Times Square. But you see what I mean about having fun? You got to have fun. Christina Saladegi, she's the Oprah Winfrey of Spanish television. And again, when you talk about having fun, you want to get the message out, you want to educate people, but don't take yourself too seriously. So I'll do stupid ads like this for Univision, okay? Okay, you got to have fun. This is the man. Those of you who are not familiar with Spanish television probably don't recognize him, but those of you who are, if not you, your parents and your grandparents for sure know this man. His name is Don Francisco. From Sábado Gigante, the most watched variety show in the history of television. Millions and millions of people watch this show every Saturday. I've been doing it for over 26 years. And this show is not anything you would expect someone like me to do. Because it's like a combination of The Gong Show, Let's Make a Deal, Truth or Consequences, and Oprah, okay? And it's silly beyond silly sometimes. And it's really, I always got the little models all dressed up and stuff like that, but he's the one who pulled me into his dressing room 26 years ago and said, Ron, you've got to learn not to take yourself too seriously, have fun, and understand that you've got the audience of millions of people who are going to listen to your message. The more fun you have delivering that message, the more fun people are going to have receiving it. So I do it. And it's tough sometimes because I got to work with a lot of not very attractive people. No, it's tough. I got a hard time working on these jobs. And it's embarrassing sometimes when they ask me to have to dance with the models. Listen. I hate doing this. I hate it. But I got to do it. What you see at the end of the day, one of the big gimmicks they do on this show, all the time, is they always have the models come up and dance with me, and they're always asking the models to kiss me. Okay? It's a Spanish TV thing. I don't want to explain it, but that's what they try to do, okay? So what am I doing there? I'm flipping married, dude, and my wife's a goddess. And she's prettier than all of these girls here, and not only that, she will kill any of them to mess with me. So I'm doing on TV, I go, no, can't dance, can't kiss, no, I'm married. I never take this off, ever take this off. Let me tell you something. My wife is fantastic. My wife, I said, she's a goddess. First of all, she's flipping beautiful. But she's also, no, she's not here, but thanks for asking. Let me tell you about my wife, because she has these great little sayings she tells me. You know, she knows I'm working with these women all the time, okay? And you'd think that she would be really ticked off, right? But you know, she has these great sayings. She goes, you know, honey, I don't care where you get your appetite, as long as you come home to eat. Okay. The other thing she tells me, she got another good one. She tells me this, she goes, honey, you can window shop all you want. You buy, you die. Okay? Guys, let me give you a little hint. The day you get married, it's a commitment for the rest of your life. You need to make sure you're doing the right thing. But when you do, there'll be times when you think the grass is greener on the other side, but I promise you, it will eventually have to get mowed too. Okay? Always appreciate what you have, because you don't know how lucky you are. Once you find the right woman, right man, whatever it is the blessing of a lifetime. So it's easy to play these games with these ladies because it's no big thing. Then I do a lot of radio too. You guys are probably too young, you don't listen to classic rock, but Paul and Young Ron, classic rock radio. That's Paul Castanova, Ron, and Kelly Craig. I do the radio show. It has nothing to do with it, but I talk about animal stuff. You know, we talk about the chupacabra, we talk about big game, we talk whatever it is. And it's another audience, okay? It's getting out to get the audience to care about these animals. I do ESPN Sports Radio with Levitard. It's a national radio show that I do every Tuesday. Okay? And you say, what do you do in sports radio? You know how that happened? They called me up one day, 7, 8 years ago, and they were doing something with the Super Bowl. I think the Falcons were playing the Bears or something like that. And they go, hey, Ron, if a Falcon fights a bear, who's going to win? Are you kidding me? You really asked me that question? But I did, and we had fun with it. I laughed at myself. The producer called me up right after the segment was done. He goes, man, the phones are ringing off the hook. People love you. Can we have you on every week? And I go, what? What are we going to talk about every week? I said that 7 years ago. I'm still doing it every week. And some of the questions are stupid. Hey, well, if a polar bear fights a lion, who's going to win? You know, I mean, if the University of Miami 1983 championship team fought 2 bears, who would win? You know, I mean, this. But you know what? You have fun with it. And a lot of times you're able to get in some good facts. And through this, I've been doing so much sports stuff. I get to meet a lot of the sports guys and work with them. Here's Shaq. Shaq has actually become a really good friend of mine, okay? Shaq has become a really good friend of mine. I'd bring him over to the zoo. He'd love the animals and say, hey, Shaq, I got a new baby giraffe that was born. Come on, you got to take a picture. And then you know what? We had a campaign where we had to actually raise money to save the smallest primate in the world. It's called a mouse lemur. It's found in Madagascar. And I came up with an idea with a friend of mine, Dr. Medea Mayer. Why don't we do a poster, a photograph? I'm going to ask Shaq if he'll come down, and I can put a mouse lemur on him. It'll be the world's smallest primate with the world's biggest primate. Because we as human beings, we're primates, okay? We're primates. So the world's biggest primate with the world's smallest primate. I said, Shaq, I need you to come down. I need to take a picture with you. Oh, man, okay, coming up. Okay. And he came down, and we took a picture. There's the mouse lemur right there. And I told Shaq, so I photographed him doing this. I said, Shaq, okay, now, I need you to give me like a goofy face. Give me a fun face. And you know what? When I first showed him that thing, he goes, are you going to bite me? Are you going to bite me? Are you gonna bite? He was afraid of it, man. He was afraid of that little mouse lemur. But I said, okay, Shaq, I need a goofy face. Give me a goofy face. There you go. Okay? Y'all remember that snake? That snake that you hated so much? You know who else used to hate snakes? LeBron James. Udonis Haslem. Actually, Udonis never hated snakes. But LeBron, ooh, he was afraid. And Dwayne Wade, he's still afraid of snakes. He sees the snake and he screams like a little girl. I'm serious. Dwayne Wade, I'm going to give you a little secret. He's afraid of snakes and birds. Birds scare him beyond belief. But I convinced LeBron. I said, LeBron, snakes are good luck. So back in 2012, I said, LeBron, come here. You got to meet the snake. Because if you meet the snake, you're going to win, brother. He did that. He won the MVP that year. He won the championship that year. Next year, he called me up. He goes, hey, you're coming back again, right? You got to come back. Now we got, these athletes are very superstitious. So I go back every year now. They touch the snake. That's the gold snake that they have to touch. And this is my job. This is what I'm getting paid to do. Okay? And it's fun. Michael Jackson. I got a call one day. I got a call from a gentleman who said, listen, I have a special guest who wants to come to the zoo, and we hear through the grapevine, because I deal with a lot of these quote-unquote celebrities who don't want anybody to know they're around. They want to come to the zoo to see the animals with their kids. And I always keep the anonymity. I never tell the press. I never tell anybody when they're coming. And I got a call from this gentleman, and it said, we have it on good word that you will be able to keep a secret. We don't want anybody to know he's coming. I said, well, who are we talking about? He said, Michael Jackson. I remember I called my wife, and I said, listen, honey, I'm going to be home a little late. I got to do this tour with Michael Jackson. He's calling up, and I got to make sure everybody's gone. And all of a sudden, 5 o'clock, I'm waiting at the back gate. Here comes this black SUV, one car, pulls up, the windows pull down, and I'm not lying to you. Inside the car, they're playing, we are the world, we are the children. And he's singing it with his kids in the car, okay? And I'm like, his driver gets out. If his driver's his bodyguard, the guy must have been like Bruce Lee, because he was about this big in that thing, okay? Gets out right away with an umbrella, opens the door, and Michael steps out. He's just wearing the Superman jumpsuit, okay? And I didn't even go to shake his hand, because in the media I hear he's a germaphobe, he doesn't want to touch people, he's got his in his bubble, all this stuff. So I just said, he comes right over, he shakes my hand, and shakes my hand like a man, okay? I mean, shook my hand, taller than I envisioned him being, shook my hand like a man. He goes, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I'm like, whoa. Anyway, I spent the next 2 hours with him and his kids. No masks, no nothing. His kids, everything was please, thank you, excuse me. His kids adored him, the way they looked at him. He adored his kids. He came back to my office, and we're sitting in my office. In my office, I have a bunch of photographs and stuff, and he's looking around. And I'm sitting at my desk, and he's looking around, reading things, and as he's looking around, he's subconsciously, he's doing this. He's kind of going, and I'm sitting at my desk, I'm going, is that freaking Michael Jackson singing and dancing in my office? And I got in a whole different mode. And he just was such a gentleman in every sense of the word. He was such a gentleman. And I felt so bad that I said, hey, you know, Michael, I got to be honest with you. If more people saw you like this, I don't think you'd have half the problems you have. And I'll never forget what he said to me before he left. He shook my hand with two hands. He grabbed my hand and he goes, Ron, I can't thank you enough. The problem is no one will ever know what it's like to have to be me. And I thought about that. I thought about that. Enough about that, but I just wanted it's important to understand that. All right. Now, the fun part of working with animals, okay? Watching all the babies being born, being able to observe these animals, having a great time with them. This is my job, okay? Working and watching these mothers bond with their animals. Look at that, come on, look at that. Listen, they don't make bras for gorillas. All right, so listen. The other thing I've gotten to learn is I've gotten to learn photography. I'm actually an ambassador for Nikon cameras now. I'm one of 16 ambassadors throughout the country for Nikon, taking photographs of animals, getting published in the papers, and doing presentations like this. Every time I take a picture like this, it'll end up someplace like the front page of the Miami Herald. Okay? It helps spread the word. Having fun with animals. Okay? Enriching them. At the zoo, you know what we do? Halloween, we give pumpkins to the animals. They love to tear them up, play with them. Valentine's Day, we give them boxes that they can open up and have treats and stuff their boxes. Okay? Easter, they have Easter eggs that they can beat around and play with. It's all part of the enrichment. Christmas, they get Christmas presents full of popcorn in their boxes. They get little stockings they try to put on their heads. Okay? This is the fun. You got to think out of the box. You got to be different. All right? Love Dance with the Rhinos. Listen, folks, you're all old enough. Everybody's fascinated with sex. Okay? Teachers are going, uh-oh, where's he going with this? Where's he going with this? No, listen. You can learn more about sex by watching animals than almost any other thing in the world. So I talk about how rhinos have sex. We do a program every year at the zoo, Valentine's Day, called Sex and the Animals. How do they do it? It's gotten huge. I fly around the country doing this presentation. It's gotten all kinds of positive reviews. Okay? Birds and bees, audience pleasers. Sure, because people love to hear about sex. Thinking out of the box. Scoop on poop. We had a whole exhibit at the zoo where we just talk about poop. So you say, well, Ron, now how are you going to do that? Well, this is where you got to swallow your pride a little bit. Got to swallow your pride a little bit. You get to measure yourself and how much an elephant poops a day, and you realize an elephant poops more than your weight every day. But now, how am I going to make an impact with the media? What's going to be the shock value that they're looking for? I got to hold some of that poop. Yeah, it's beautiful. Look at that. Yeah. But you see, you guys are not going to forget that. You guys are going to say, that tall dude from the zoo, holding poop, he's out of his mind. But you see, it made an impact. And all I had to do was wash my hands. I didn't tell my wife I did that. But here's the goal. You want to associate yourself with someone. You want to build what's called a brand. Okay? You want to have an identity. I was hugely honored when the Herald did a recent article on calling brand identity and had me on the cover as the face of the place. They said, geez, you know, everybody, when they look at Ron Magill, they think the zoo. And I said, wow, is that really true? I mean, I didn't really believe that. But it's a great way to understand that you've been able to connect with the community. You've been able to communicate with the community on what's going on. And it's important to have those relationships with the media, not only in the good times, but especially in the bad times. You guys don't remember this because you weren't even born, but back in '92 when we had the Hurricane Andrew, it was unbelievably devastating. These are the newspapers. There I am with an animal that was born during the storm. Its mother abandoned it. It's on the cover of the paper. That's the picture there. With all the destruction behind me. And I never thought we would ever recover from this. It was beyond description. It looked like a bomb. It looked like God had come through with a 25-mile wide weed whacker and just leveled everything. But I got to tell you something. We got animals back out and exhibit as quickly as possible. That trailer came from over 100 miles to the east, fell out of the sky into the pen with that rhino. Okay? Here's the aviary before the hurricane. Here's the aviary right after the hurricane. Here's the front end. This is the way we found dead animals. The only way we were able to identify the birds that were killed in the aviary is by looking at their legs and looking at the leg bands. The leg bands told us which birds they were. So it was a very difficult time. We had to take the flamingos and we put them in the bathroom to ride out the storm. It saved their lives. It saved their lives. Came back. Coming back. Having the relationship with the media. Being able to come back. Saying thank you to all the people that helped us. Then we had to deal with a fire. A huge fire at the zoo. Engulfed the zoo. We had to evacuate animals. Going in there, grabbing animals, evacuate animals. But this is where you need the media to get the communication out to the people that you need help. And that helped us. It helped us recover. This was probably the most difficult time for me at the zoo. One of my closest friends there, Dave Marshall, was killed by a tiger. Okay? And I had to be the one to go out there and tell the story of what happened, how it happened. So he made a mistake. It was human error. He stepped into the tiger pen, not realizing the tiger was still out there, and it killed him instantly. Okay? But it's an up and down. It's a roller coaster of emotions. But it's all real life. Okay? Dealing when we had to put our patriarch gorilla to sleep. You know, I talk about all this stuff. I don't just talk to the media about happy things, about births and new exhibits and stuff. I got to share everything. You got to share the births and the deaths. So you make a connection with the community so that they know what's going on. The horrible things that can happen at the zoo. Letting the media make those connections. Okay? It's all about communication, guys. Inspiring people. Okay? You want to do that. I'm the one who started bringing media in when we were doing surgical procedures on everything. Said, bring them in here. I wanted to see what's going on so people get an appreciation for the zoo, for the stuff we do behind the scenes. The zoo is much more than just an attraction that puts animals on exhibit. We care for animals. We breed animals in captivity. We do conservation programs. And people need to see behind the scenes stuff. Here's a white tiger getting a root canal. In the wild, that tiger would die from the infection in its mouth and the abscesses that would prevent it from eating. It would die. But had it not been for the care that they get in, which is why in zoos like Zoo Miami, animals live much longer in captivity than they do in the wild. Okay. This was a truly touching story. This is Josephine. She had full cataracts. She was 44 years old. Full cataracts that made her totally blind. Normally, there's nothing you could do. She would just sit in the corner. She would never go out and exhibit. She'd sit in the corner and do nothing because she couldn't see anything. We got one of the best eye surgeons in the country to donate his time, human eye surgeon, because the gorilla eye is almost identical to a human eye. And he did surgery, removing the cataracts from her eyes. Those are the cataracts. Removed the cataracts from her eyes. This guy brought in his whole surgical team, all the equipment for free, donated everything to do this surgery, and replaced her cataracts with a human artificial lens. He took those cataracts out, put the lens in, and this is her first day on exhibit when she can see. And she walked out. And for us, and I still get goosebumps thinking about it because I was photographing this and I could hardly focus the camera because the tears were in my eyes. She looked at things and she'd pick up things and she'd stare at them. And she's like, I can see. This next picture is one of my favorites because she took this blade of grass and you can see her open her eyes and go, I can see. Okay? That's magic, folks. That is magic, and you know, no one can pay me enough to say you're never going to experience that. So I don't make hundreds of thousands of dollars, but moments like this are priceless. And when you can have a job that you love doing as much as I love doing, working with these things, is fantastic. Here's a crocodile that was run over in the Florida Keys by a car. Its entire head is busted up, all fractured. We actually plated it back together with screws and plates. Drilling it back together, all those screws go in, so the bone can fuse again. We called him Robo-Croc, okay? And that helped his head heal, okay? All the work that we did behind the scenes, all that donated by the veterinarian. Saving Robo-Croc was the article, okay? Let me tell you what's a difficult thing for me, okay? A difficult thing for me is that I remember being that kid in a small apartment in New York City with immigrant parents with no money at all, watching things like Wild Kingdom and seeing things in Africa, seeing things in India, the Galapagos Islands, and thinking, God, wouldn't it be a dream to be able to see that? And then the feeling I got when I actually did get to see it. And then the bittersweet feeling I got when I came back and I'd show the pictures to people like yourself and I'd see the the inspiration in your eyes thinking, oh my God, it would be a dream for me to go to places like that, to be able to do those things. And realizing that most people probably are never going to get a chance to do that. But how could I help inspire your generation to care about this? So I came up with a contest. I call it my Eco Hero Contest. I've been doing it for the last 8 years. I've been able to get sponsorships from everybody, where I have a contest for all middle school students in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. Anybody can be nominated in middle school for doing something positive for the environment. Whether you did a recycling program in your school, you did a beach cleanup or whatever, you can be nominated. If you get chosen as the Eco Hero, I will take you to some incredible place in the world, all expenses paid, with your mother or parent or guardian of your choice, along with a television crew from a television station, and we'll do a half-hour documentary on your trip. This is one I did recently, the Galapagos Islands. This is Michael Williams, Ralph Marciano from CBS 4 at the time, and here's the young lady that won. She won because she did some huge recycling program and did a big beach cleanup, and all her expenses were paid. She'd never been on a plane before. She got to go to the Galapagos Islands and experience the wonders of these enchanted isles. All expenses paid. We did a half-hour documentary on it. She got to experience all these animals up close and personal in the wild. She got to dive, snorkel in the Galapagos Islands. This is what you see when you snorkel in the Galapagos Islands. It is absolutely spectacular, okay? She got to play reporter as part of the documentary. Why? Because she did something to help the environment. And this way now, I got her inspired, because when she went there, she goes, oh my gosh, this is the most incredible thing. And she came back, she started a website, she did presentations to her peers in school. That's how you get the ball rolling. It becomes kind of a viral thing, you see. So I do it every year. This is one I did in Panama. This young man, who is now, gosh, this is 10 years ago now almost. He is an incredible PhD candidate doing some incredible work. I brought him to Panama. I introduced him to the indigenous people of Panama. He got to swim in the rainforest rivers. He got to go on the Panama Canal. Got to go over the rainforest this is all kinds of dance with the indigenous people, okay? This is the one I just finished doing. I don't know if you saw the documentary just a little while ago. They showed it on Channel 10. The Lost World of Machu Picchu, Peru. I took her to Machu Picchu. I took her to Peru. She got to meet the Peruvian people, got to see Machu Picchu. This is what all for free, all expenses paid. The Harp Eagle Project. This is me working with that Harp Eagle Project they talked about. Oh my God, I'll never get done if I'm... Okay, so here we go. I met with the ambassador. I wanted to do something to save the Harpy Eagle in Panama. They said, it can't be done, Ron, we got no money. Well, I met with the ambassador. I met with the U.S. ambassador. I said, Mr. Ambassador, I want to raise money. So I sent checks out. I sent letters out to all the corporations doing business in Panama. Remember Jim Fowler from Wild Kingdom? That's him! He came down and helped me do this project, setting up. I had to do a presentation to Sony Corporation. That's Mr. Akihiko Kashi. He's the president of Sony Corporation. And I did this thing. I said, this is why you got to give me money. I'm doing the whole thing. And you know, the Japanese don't wear their emotions on their sleeve, so he's sitting there kind of going, oh. And I finished the presentation. I go, Jim, he's not going to give us anything. He goes, Ron, relax. Mr. Kaji goes back. We begin by giving you like $100,000. We started this project. We did the whole working with the indigenous people. That man is 78 years old. Look at his feet. You see how they curl around? You know why? Climbing trees. He grabs the tree with his feet. He's 70, and he climbs better than a cat. And look, and you know what I don't like about all these indigenous people? They never lose their hair. They keep their hair forever. Me with all the women of the village, okay? Look at that. Come on. Come on. Look, this is the chief of another village. You want to see how tall rainforest people are? This is how tall they are. Okay? You learn so much. This is me studying the eagle, going out. I'm going to go through this fast now. Because you know what? I was able to build, this is getting up into the nest. I'm sitting in the nest with a harpy eagle up in Panama in the rainforest. That's me sitting in the nest, climbed 120 feet up into that nest. We trapped that bird. We put a satellite transmitter on its parents, caught the parents, brought them down from the tree, put a transmitter on them, and then released them into the rainforest after taking all the measurements that we had to do. So, I was able to open the center. I raised over $1 million to open a center for the harpy eagle in Panama. We were able to petition the Panamanian government, and we convinced the Panamanian government to pass a law in 2002 that officially made the harpy eagle the national bird of Panama. And we had this great contest. There's a harpy that was born there. And I'm going to stop at the end of the Harpy thing. This is the one I brought back to Panama. Front page news everywhere. American Airlines did everything, donated everything for the flight. Got there, I was like a national hero when we got there, doing all the press things, the press conferences. It was unbelievable. I got 2 minutes left, so I'm going to go get an animal to bring out because I got to be with an animal, okay? So I'll be right back. Hold on. Okay. All right. This is Phantom. He's a Eurasian eagle owl. We've had him since he was a little chick, and he's a great ambassador for wildlife because since he's been raised by us, he's been acclimated to all of you. He's been acclimated to all kinds of sounds. I don't like to bring animals to events like this unless I know they're not going to be totally stressed out. And he's pretty much fascinated by all this stuff. Eurasian eagle owl found throughout Europe and Asia. It's the second largest owl in the world. Owls are really cool animals. You know why? Because first of all, people have misconceptions about owls. The biggest misconception is that they're smart. Because you always hear the wise old owl, right? You ever see the pictures of the owl with the little graduation cap on like it's smart?
Yeah.
Owls are probably one of the least intelligent of all the birds. Let me explain to you why. You see those eyes? See how big they are? Okay. Owls, like most birds of prey, they cannot move their eyes back and forth. You know how you guys can look up and down, side to side? They can't do that. But they turn their heads over 200 degrees so they can point their head directly at what they're looking at. If you had the eyes of an owl, you would be able to read a newspaper 100 yards away. That's how keen their eyesight is. But their eyes are so big that they take up so much space in their skull that there's very little space left over for the brain. So they don't have a whole lot of intelligence, okay? Now owls, like all birds of prey, though they have a powerful beak, the most dangerous part of these birds are their talons. That's what they use to kill their prey and to defend themselves. If you had an owl that had a broken wing, couldn't fly away, and you tried to pick it up, that bird would come at you with those talons and nail you and can rip the tendons in your hand so quickly you won't even know what happened. It's very, very dangerous. Another thing about owls that's really cool, see these little feathers up here? They look like ears. Those aren't the ears. Owls have what we call asymmetrical ears. If you had the ears of an owl, your one ear would be here, and your other ear would be down here. It helps them triangulate sound, so they can catch things just by hearing without even seeing. Okay? Now here's another real cool thing about owls. He might try to fly. Don't freak out if he falls off, as I'll get him back on. But I'm going to get him now to move his wings. You know, if you ever had to hold a chicken and get it to move its wings, you hear it, right? Flap, flap, flap. Most birds, when they do that, you hear flap, flap, flap. Listen if you can hear anything when he opens his wings, assuming he doesn't fly off. Hold on. Shh, listen, listen. Oh, okay, he flew off. Hold on, let me get it back on. This is his bad imitation. There you go. Listen, listen. Listen, listen. Woo! I'm going to get him to open his wings again. Silent, right? Silent. Why? Because owls have special feathers along the fronts of their wings that buffer the sound, deafen the sound. Why do you think that is?
To help it catch its prey more efficiently.
Bingo! If the little mouse is on the ground eating the grass, and this guy's flapping his wings and he makes sound, the mouse is going to go, wow, incoming, he's going to run away. But here it's like the stealth bomber. The mouse is eating the ground, he's dead. Okay? All right, guys, I know I'm almost out of time. Anybody have any specific questions? Yes? That's just a temperature regulation. It's like when a dog pants, it's just regulating his temperature. Can I make it hoot? Yes? I have seen the documentary Blackfish. Let me explain to you my feelings about Blackfish. I have personally said publicly many times, I am not in favor of taking any type of cetacean out of the wild and putting it in captivity. Cetaceans being whales, dolphins, things like that. I'm not in favor of that. However, for the animals that have already been in captivity all of their lives, you cannot release them back in the wild. Okay? They will die, and it's already been proven. You remember the movie Free Willy? Yeah. That whale, they raised millions of dollars on this huge campaign. Oh, that whale needs to be set free. You need a Free Willy. And people say, listen, this whale's been in captivity all of his life. He's not used to being in the wild. You put him in the wild and he's going to not make it. Oh, no, we could do it. Unfortunately, that whale, after millions of dollars, ended up dying in the wild. Okay? It was just actually a few months, and he didn't make it. Blackfish brings up some very good points, but it's a very slanted film. And I can tell you, having worked behind the scenes, having worked with people, they don't talk about SeaWorld and the millions of dollars they have invested in protecting animals, saving manatees, saving turtles, saving so many dolphins and whales all the time. I've been there when they saved those whales. I've been there when they sent out crews, the research that they do. Okay? Always understand there's two sides to a story, and Blackfish and CNN, I'm very disappointed in CNN because they allowed something that was very slanted to come off as if it was gospel. And it's not gospel. And they left out a lot of parts in there that are important. But having said that, and some of my peers don't like it when I say this, I do not approve of taking any kind of whale, large cetacean, out of the wild and putting it in captivity. Those animals need too much of a range. I'm also not a supporter. I don't believe you should take elephants out of the wild and put them in captivity. Okay? Another very large, intelligent animal that needs a social structure. But again, having said that, animals that have been in the wild all their lives, in captivity all their lives, need to be taken care of, need to let them live out their lives in captivity, and hopefully we change the process and don't remove these animals out of the wild anymore. Zoos made a lot of mistakes in the past, folks. I'm going to tell you here and now, the saddest thing in the world would be if zoos were the last place you could see animals. The goal of a good zoo is to inspire you to care about wildlife, to help protect wild areas, and to provide good homes for the animals that they have. But there are a lot of quote-unquote zoos that don't do that. These roadside attractions, these places that have little tiny cages, animals pacing back and forth, that's horrific. We need to be able to distinguish ourselves from that and to set the bar high and make sure that everybody meets that high bar. Yes?
Do male kangaroos still have a pouch in front of his stomach?
No, male kangaroos do not have a pouch. None of the male marsupials have a pouch. Okay? Anything else? Yes? What was something that held me back? Yeah, the fear of failing. The fear of failing. When I came back from the University of Florida, I told my father, understand, I was the first kid in my entire family to go to college. And I told my father when I came back, I said, I want to start as a zookeeper at the zoo. And he looked at me with utter disappointment in his face because he had a preconceived notion that a zookeeper was simply a crap shoveler, a guy with a wheelbarrow and a shovel and keys. And he said, you come out of college and you're going to shovel crap? That's what he told me. I said, Pop, it's more than that. It's more of a profession now. It's a way to learn about animals, and hopefully I'll be able to move up. That was 35 years ago. Fortunately, before my dad passed away, he was able to see me do that. And he did tell me. He said, I'm proud of you. I'm really proud of what you were able to do. But what he told me most, and what my mom tells me every day, what makes me happiest, my mom speaking, what makes me happiest is that you're happy. That's what makes her happiest. Guys, I'm not faking this. I am so privileged to be up here speaking to all of you because I remember, to me it was not so long ago that I was the guy sitting in the audience listening to somebody up here speak to me about careers, about what inspired them, about how they got to where they got. And I never thought I would be one of those people invited up here to speak to you. So it's a huge privilege. You guys have to learn to live your dreams, to go after your dreams, to understand you can have hurdles, you're going to have times when you fail. Get up! Get up and try it again. Okay? Now, when you're young, is the time to fail. This is the time to fail. You want to wait till you're an old man like me? But the most important thing is you've got to have fun. And you can be paid to have fun. I'm proof of that. Laugh with yourself. Laugh with your friends. With the negative stuff that happens, just brush it off your back. Go on to positive. Surround yourself with positive people. You don't need to have that negative stuff around you all the time. All right, guys, I'm way over my time limit. I want to thank you very much for listening to all this stuff.